I think the longest period I slept in 32 days was 2 hours.
I have
But
never understood why it's knots and not just miles per hour.
back in the age of sail, the way they would determine the speed of the ship is they had a log that was tied to a rope, and the rope had at specific lengths had knots tied in it. And they would turn an hourglass over, throw the log in, and then count how many knots went through their hand until the hourglass ran out, and then they would write down how many knots in the log book. So, and sailboats do not move very fast, because it is right around the pace of like walking swiftly or walking slowly, depending on the wind.
But I mean, that's as fast as you're going? You're only going like 3 or 4 miles an hour?
Oh yeah,
Even if the wind's like whipping, you're still
yeah. So
just
like
poking
the
around?
whole the whole speed on my boat, I think, is like 7 knots, which is like it's not one for one for like miles per hour, but it's not very fast. Yeah, and it's like that's yeah, and I mentioned that I said, like my passage here from Los Angeles would have been the equivalent to me driving from Los Angeles to Pittsburgh at 3 miles an hour, basically.
I thought you were going a lot faster than that. I assumed that, like, all right, you
So
get out in the open ocean, they're probably doing like 30 or 40. You're doing like 5.
but that's like those giant cargo ships, they max out at 30 knots.
Why did I think that everything was so much faster?
But like fancy race boats, like for the America's Cup, they have these sailboats that look like spaceships almost. Those things will go like 40 knots, or those things are totally bananas. But they don't go long distances really at that speed.
So, for somebody who's, like, never been out on the open ocean, what's it like compared to, like how is the open ocean different from being near shore?
Well, for one thing, you can be rescued near shore.
Yeah.
That's like, in the middle of the ocean, there is no rescue. Or if you're lucky, you might get rescued by a cargo ship, but then your vessel or your home or your boat has to be sunk so that it's not a danger to other boats navigating in the same waters. So that thought, it's not like a helicopter can just come pick you up when you're 1,000 miles from shore. So that is wildly different. But on the flip side of that is there's nothing more dangerous to a boat than the shore. So when I'm navigating close to shore, if I'm doing overnight passages, like nonstop overnight passages, I'll sleep in the cockpit outside with my alarm set for every 15 minutes, because that's about 20 minutes is about the time a ship will reach you from the horizon if it's traveling at full speed.
So, like, for solo sailing, how do you go about doing that, right? Like, do you have to just be alert 24 hours a day the entire time that you're going?
There's a thing called AIS, which is a system that all major ships have to have broadcast AIS. So there's this AIS receiver. You can buy a transponder or a receiver, but the transponders are very expensive, which would send out your data. But the AIS receiver tells you when a ship is near you, it tells you which direction they're going and how fast they're going. So you can set up alarms where, like, okay, if a ship gets within 10 miles of me, I need the alarm to go off. And then you can get up and kind of figure out where the ship is and figure out if you guys are going to cross paths. So that lends itself to help a lot. But generally, on my passage, the way I do it when I'm at sea and I'm not coastal cruising is I would start my night shift around 9 p.m. and I would set an alarm for the top of the hour for every hour. And I would lay down, hopefully sleep through the hour, and then my alarm goes off. I would get up, go on deck, look for ships, slowly scan the horizon, check the sails, check the course, make sure I'm still going the right direction, and carry on my way. And there's a thing called a wind vane self steering system, which is all mechanical, doesn't take any electronics, and you set your course and you activate this wind vane, and it steers the boat for you. So it removes you from having to hand steer the boat, so that allows you to like live, because otherwise you would just have to put the boat, it's called heave to, which basically like stall the boat and sleep for hours, if and then go back to sailing. So with a wind vane steering system, it allows you to just go kind of constantly.
But you wouldn't ever want to, like, just sleep for 8 hours straight with the boat going, like, "All right, well, I pointed it east."
It's not a good idea because usually the sea conditions change, the wind conditions change, and so your sails might, backwind. You start pointing in the wrong direction. It's like you're sailing 8 hours in the wrong direction is not going to help your final cause. So I think the longest period I slept in 32 days was 2 hours.
What does that do to your body?
Um, I lost 20 pounds.